Hello, I'm going to be reading from a paper which I wrote in November 2004. I hope that doesn't turn you off, that it's a little older. It's called A Call to Social Reform. America cannot be a truly spiritual country without a central shared philosophy, one that requires a median ideology. While this premise may sound simplistic, it would be a step towards reparations as a nation for historical crimes within our very own populace. For too long, Americans have been distracted both by the orthodox and the unconventional polarities. Surely there are principles of shared identity we can all adhere to and participate in with equal fervor. Our nation's spirituality is a skeleton lurking in the closet of vagaries, it exerting influence through sinister whisperings into our leaders' naked ears. Historically, Native Americans, from whom today most of the population of third generation and further descend, and obscure religious zealots from which much of the population of our nation descend, form a fascinatingly diverse and dynamic conglomeration, a unique to our country, one that has long deserved to be brought out of the woodwork of secret societies and celebrated for the intricately woven customs and strong belief systems which they have now long held. I ask you to define present-day moral fiber, and I shall show you a vapid conformity done from rote in all strata of society. All systems must have acknowledgment in our land, or none can at all can represent validity of purpose. Why must a new beginning be a reversion back to the individual's own whim? Why must a new beginning be a reversion back to the individual's own whim? Are we not as capable as other nations' citizenry, and indeed our very own forefathers, to create an experimental utopia, if not a perfect genesis of Renaissance? Can we not look at our elder sibling nations with deference for the manner in which they have solved major problems? What is so wrong with that lonely, obese, starved for attention child nation who polices the world's playgrounds, tattling on elder students? Our fatherland is losing all his marbles and falling on the asphalt defiantly, wailing when the bell is finally rung. When did it become an unwritten crime to say, I don't want to kill or be killed by another? When did troops change from immaculate tin soldiers neatly boxed into gritty, vicious-eyed golems sanctified to torture? When did it become an ugly thing to say, things are grotesque now and I want to make them better? It is not a war of life and death, conflict or torture, stocks or oil. It is a war on quality of life. The ever ongoing tumult of haves and have-nots suck down the birthright of momentum that idealistic young people have. For every daydream of daily life stolen by the corporations, a prejudice grows in its place. This prejudice is fertilized by formulaic definitions that dissuade introspection, and consumerist nature distracts and greases the wheels of industry. All large countries harm the environment, but at least they do so in making things. America subsidizes outsourcing, so our environmental damage is based solely upon consuming more stuff, service jobs and their food containers, and the big one, transportation issues, with no hope for mass transit solutions. In essence, capitalism does to the environment what communism does to its people. It deforms and blanches to complete homogeny, a seamless ongoing loop that replays ever vigilantly with sickening accuracy, bland for lack of the spice that eludes a voracious consumer culture. This lack of shared roots and common reference makes our people an anemic pale shadow, searching heroes out with hungry eyes. These heroes are momentarily found and suckled upon in the guise of flickering illusions on our blue glowing box altars that pray for us all night. Sterilization does not serve those heads of corporations who need more consumers to grease the wheels and line their pockets. Birth control is discouraged in part by poor education and high drug prices. With low income, you can expect a huge family, and with high income, expect a small family. IQ is multifaceted. Someone who's an idiot in math can be a genius mechanically. Now, the current model of multiple intelligences theory overshadows narrow definitions of intellect as the original Wechsler test did with a measurement of book smarts, or the Stanford Binet with its categories based on cognitive problem solving. This question made no sense when eugenics was a scientifically approved theory, and it really doesn't make any sense now that the definition of intelligence has been widened. Even if a human is dealt a terrible hand, genetically speaking, the responsibility is up to the community to improve his or her lot to its fullest potential. In a conquered society, say, for example, post-World War I Germany, post-World War II Japan, or at the risk of sounding brash, post-war of northern aggressions, Great Depression, corporate takeover of country music, southern US, the populace sways ultra-conservative with an every man for himself mentality due to the fact that there are hardly resources to be found to go on to the next generation. As a result, less tolerance for necessities like social and domestic care issues occur, and the cycle of impoverishment and bitterness continues. Once again, quality of life is key rather than the right to have a life at all. Someone with no resources and 80 IQ and more kids than they can stand is not a recipe for human fulfillment either. Can we as a nation agree that happiness is not only a right, but an attainable reality during the individual's lifetime? Happiness that isn't sponsored by a drug company for $2.53 a bottle. High IQ would not be such an issue if more emphasis were placed by our learning institutions upon the individual learning to do what comes naturally and what they enjoy doing, with the reassurance that they could make a living wage at whatever that goal may be. Too many individuals have to pawn their hopes and dreams for their families to survive, or else become fodder in some foreign altercation just so they can see for themselves what is beyond our very borders. Capital punishment should be served in every case rather capital punishment should be served in every case rather than the current status quo of prison torture, overcrowding, and human defilement that has become a common joke. If a phenomenon is so rife and obnoxious as to be a public joke, then it should be universally treated with the highest level of public concern. During my lifetime, I saw Amnesty International become huge, ending apartheid in South Africa and working through many other problems as well. Greenpeace and World Wildlife Fund were big deals too. Now there is no more time, resources, or concern for anything publicly. There is only the ongoing conservative stance and its stranglehold on humanistic reality. Human compassion on a large scale is dead. The instability throughout the world in the past 25 years has murdered it, and no one seems to care. Look at the other ways countries have dealt with certain policy issues and what works for them. America must end its international ignorance in foreign policy and isolationist mentality with regards to the rest of the planet. Americans must understand that they are only hurting themselves in their lack of tolerance. American citizens should form a real union of states. We have grown too large and diverse to be handled by one president. We should join with Canada and Mexico's provinces in a North American Union similar to the European Union. The federal government does have too much power, but we need more domestic infrastructure customized to the specific state's needs. It is time to rise up as a nation and reclaim our right to form a current constitution, as nearly every first world country has a more recent constitution than we do. Let the workers join together in unity to reclaim our words of radicalism, liberalism, abundance, wisdom, prudence, nobility, equality, and pride. My list of works cited are the Young People's Democratic Socialist League official website, the World Democratic Socialist website, the True Majority, give us 2 minutes a month and we'll give you a better world, and the SEVA Foundation, as well as the Twice Exceptional newsletter, New Stanford Binet Test out, the Multiple Intelligences Theory, Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Human Rights Watch, and Escape from America magazine, 2004. All of those are excellent resources, I think. Thank you very much for listening in, and I hope I wasn't misperceived on any of my points. And it's been my pleasure to read this paper for you today. So thank you from Mystic Ashram, signing off.